first, thank you for staying around, everyone. This is getting late, yet one of the most exciting topic of today going to be discussed just right now. What breakthrough we're going to see in 2026? In the meantime, just before coming to the stage, I was having a chat with Pedro, thinking is crypto is dead? Or long live crypto. So now we have amazing 4 speakers here. Perhaps all of you know this project. They each focus on a very interesting topic, WalletConnect, recently making a big push with the WalletConnect Pay, or Starknet just had to give a talk about privacy, even in connection with the gaming, and Alex Intent, and also Clemens coming from Base. They launched the Base app, and a lot of young PFs were talking about that. So now we want to talk about all these aspects, bring crypto to the mainstream. What breakthrough you are expecting happening in 2026? What or what not gonna make it? Let's start with Pedro.
Well, I think WalletConnect, one of the biggest advantages was always to try to abstract as much complexity. Obviously, in the very first beginning, crypto was very different. It was very developer focused. So we built a lot of infrastructure and developer tooling to make the experience much easier for developers to integrate crypto. But now we're very consumer focused now. So we have to abstract that completely. So the focus has changed quite dramatically because now we need to abstract every single aspect of the gas, the chains, the tokens, and that's why we kind of focus on building WalletConnect Pay such that you don't even have to think, just a single click payment.
And how about Teddy? What do you say?
I actually disagree. I think we need more complexity. Not on the gas level and transactions, but I think we need more complex application. I long for sort of a DeFi summer again, where people were building new DEXs, new lending protocols, just new interesting ideas, often and quickly, whether it's just simple forks or something else. But I think the industry in general is really lacking some creative potential. And I think a lot of that can come from complexity, and to later be refined to build good interaction design. But I think 2026 should be a year of building new, interesting, complex applications that begin to go beyond what is the current status quo.
So Pedro just mentioned, is for having what user are going to notice, not the developers. We need to have a simple user journey while having some complex products that people can be satisfied. And that comes the intent now. So how this intent going to be playing a role in 2026, or do you see any other things which can make a big breakthrough?
So from my point of view, there is a clear opportunity for the blockchain space to get a very strong stance within the AI by being a financial backbone for the AI. So the financial system that has been developed up until now is very heavily focused on humans. The regulations are focused on humans and so on. And crypto was very, very against it. It was the idea that everybody can have their own money and hold it. And from that standpoint, AI agents and any type of computer programs, they don't have the human identity. And from that standpoint, I do believe that, again, with the increasing developments of the AI and it actually becoming useful, there is a clear opportunity to figure out the financial backbone of these interactions. And crypto has the best possible chance to succeed into the mainstream, but unfortunately not for the users, but rather for the computer programs or AI agents.
Yeah, so we can see the multiple layers, how crypto is going to play a role to direct user facing, but at the same time being a financial backbone for agent facing role as well. And how about Clemens? What did you say?
Well, I think what we've seen over the last 10 years or more is just massive investment and research into the base layers of this entire tech stack, right? We have done so much work in really building the foundations of what this technology can and should do that it's really seeping out in so many different ways, right? It can either come through very highly complex sort of forms that really embeds within highly complex, high-frequency trading or finance, trade finance, and so on and so forth, really purpose-built for very complex use cases. But what I think is more exciting as well is that we've finally gotten crypto user experience to a point that you can start to do a lot of those really exciting ideas and really take them to the mass market in a way that we couldn't do just even a couple years ago, right? We've really gotten crypto and most crypto sort of activities to a point where it can be as close as possible to Web2, a Web2-like experience. We are now able to approach an average person and hand them a product, and it works. And that product actually reaches mainstream adoption or recognition, like Polymarket, where I would say most of the people that read a Polymarket headline still don't fully understand what crypto is or that this product itself is powered by Polymarket. So with that, I'm really, really excited to sort of see the new types of products that developers will be taking to market, especially now that we've had all these, great protocols and great researchers working not only on user experience but also on developer experience to really take, this tech not just to, a small set of really competent and capable engineers, but also to like the vibe coders, to the people that just want to put together a very simple product or project over the weekend, and that's something that we've seen accelerate massively over the last few months, and I think it's going to be really, really exciting going into this year.
I see. So there, we can see some hopes in the direction of a mainstream adoption, but yet we all can agree that we cannot agree that happened already, right? What is still the biggest friction which is preventing the mainstream adoption, you would say? Many people talk about maybe not simple UX, or still some cost is the problem, or maybe one product getting rocked one after another month. So there's a lot of perhaps a challenge we have still facing in 2026. Do you see something major which we can address, and anything you feel that's just unnecessarily over-engineered so that's creating the problem?
I think privacy is the last mile. I mean, we've talked about scaling. Yes, that's solved. We can have as many transactions as possible. Of course, we'll reach gigagas and teragas and scale. Obviously, it will always scale further, but it's not an actual problem. Even gasless transactions used to be a problem. Now we actually have gasless transactions. Mm-hmm. We actually use it on a daily basis without even noticing. It's quite amazing. And there was a time even Ethereum was proof of work, and now it's proof of stake. We don't even talk about that. We just take it for granted. There's so much complexity that was removed also with key management solutions. We have so many different MPC providers now that basically you don't have to manage your keys anymore. So all of these friction points have been solved, but then when people actually find out that when they give their address, you give the full financial history to another person, that makes them very nervous. It's just not normal. You don't give your bank account and they know everything in your bank statement. So that needs to be addressed.
Yeah, if someone knows that what I eat every Friday at lunch, that would be very scary, right? How about Teddy?
I think maybe two things. One, developers, engineers in general, who are application builders, need to be a little more brave. Working at a foundation, you see a lot of people say, hey, what would you like me to build? And I was like, dude, it's a terrible question to ask me. I want to know what you want to build and what you're excited about and what you might think is different. So that on one hand, I think engineers and application developers and people who are interested in building products need to be a little more creative, which is one of the reasons why I'm quite excited about one, people building games, two, people vibe coding and building applications that they see fit and are relevant to themselves and the communities that they know about. But I think the biggest bottleneck to Web3 improving is just at the wallet level. Wallets are incredibly good at what they do, but they're also incredibly dumb, simple things. They store your keys, they interact with web pages, and they can sign stuff. They do very basic cryptographic operations. And if we really want to do more, wallets have to do more. Wallets have to talk to web browsers in different ways, which requires new EIPs, new standards for that. How do you know what you want the wallet to do? Can you request a proof from your browser wallet today? No. Technically, you can with a signature, but that's a little different. So I think wallets need to do a heck of a lot more. I think that's the two bottlenecks, in my opinion. One being application developers being more creative, and two, wallets doing a heck of a lot more, at least experimenting more.
Cool. And Alex?
So sometimes I'm questioning myself, are we actually going to have a good shot at getting to the mass adoption of crypto? It's payment trails of crypto. Well, we already have it with Revolut, like in traditional banks, or places where we are able to exchange our assets. We have New York Stock Exchange for this, right? Or Robinhood, for that matter. So from my point of view, the crypto is targeting a very specific subset of people in the world, right? The ones who are trying to manage the risks of the centralized providers, right? And they are willing to be a little bit more in control of the things. And that's why they are willing to kind of invest a little bit more of their time and energy into more complicated setups. People who are using Farcaster, well, these are very different people from the ones who are using Facebook, right? So, and then in terms of the product features, it is going to be very, very hard to get on par with Facebook. Mm-hmm. And if you really want to win the market, you need to get 10x better than the competitors. So are we, as crypto, actually set up to get to this mainstream adoption? Yeah, I agree with the previous thoughts around the privacy and around the user experience, that some things are becoming better, but there are some very foreign concepts for users, including all of the transaction history, or that if you're deleting your wallet, it doesn't mean that like the information is deleted, things like that. There are lots of complexities, and maybe from my point of view, maybe like just a thought for everybody to consider. Maybe we're just don't need to strive for the mass adoption. We just need to work with the people who are educated well to understand that decentralization doesn't matter until it does, right? And it is a little bit easier for me as Ukrainian to understand it, and as Eastern European, because our governments have been fucking us so much that we know that a centralized provider is not a very good option. And then for people from from Europe and from the US, they have not been experiencing like these catastrophes happening on the state level, or like they were not that violent, at least. Maybe you just need to educate people and show them more of these problems that can potentially happen, and then that might be they want to de-risk from it. But again, I'm pretty sure that it is going to be very, very tough to compete with the centralized providers, and especially with the speed at which they would be able to develop.
Even this like a handful number of speakers on the stage seeing crypto in different like perspective, like different layer, focusing on like a user adoption, and then actually perhaps we don't need to target mainstream because it's mainly the tech product for people who are building around or who believe in the philosophy of the decentralization. Now here comes the base who is like a pushing towards like a mass adoption, especially like with an app or like going even to the street and like asking people, do you want to transfer some money? Which is quite connected to payment solutions. So what did you say? Do we aim for mainstream adoption? Is it happening? Is it still a thing like we are working on?
I definitely think that you could make the point that we are nearing mainstream adoption, but I also really like Alex's point on maybe we shouldn't be focusing on mainstream adoption. Maybe instead we should be leaning into the things that have been proving to work, right? Go where the market's at, go where things are working. And there's a couple things that I think are very interesting to observe. But I think, first of all, you want to make sure that you have an infrastructure stack that is able to handle the mainstream. The mainstream should always be your North Star, but you've got to be very strategic and tactical in how you want to approach in getting there. I do think that there's a couple things that have worked out quite nicely, and I do think that especially the regulation when it comes to the Genius Act or the Clarity Act is really going to allow us to do more of what we've seen to work, which is, decentralized capital formation in the internet, and that's worked beautifully. I would argue that's one of the few things that this industry has actually produced that works, besides moving vast sums of money, across borders. And the next part is obviously ensuring a proliferation of stablecoins, because if you actually want to get the world on chain, if you want to get Europe on chain, the best way to do it is to do it through a vehicle that people understand. At the end of the day, the mass wants to transact in currency. They want to transact in dollars, in euros, whether that's taking place on SEPA, or on Swift or on a stablecoin network shouldn't really be of concern here, right? So I think it's our challenge now to figure out where are the specific gaps where a stablecoin infrastructure, for example, has a significant competitive advantage as opposed to existing alternatives. And I think a lot of these opportunities are out there in these new markets that are being formed within the internet. You want to lean into these internet native opportunities and really grow from that position, right? And I think that's really what made Facebook Facebook, is because Facebook came onto the scene leveraging what the internet did uniquely well. And I think the same way we should be thinking about growth in that same way. We should be leveraging what programmable money can do so much better than our centralized Web 2 systems.
See, like a Facebook coming to stage this time, twice already from the speakers, like saying a lot there, like what we are aiming. I think this is a good thing. We're now thinking about like bigger adoption, so we start to compare ourselves with the big services out there and what we can do better, not just copy and paste like blindly, so that like all the apps become very boring and just like it doesn't change anything. But when Clemens is just talking through, I was just thinking about how our banking adoption has happened when we had to go to bank, and then like there was a telebanking. I don't know, it depends on your age, you may have experienced. I'm more like internet banking than coming to the mobile banking generation. I still, like my mom who was born in '64 was scared of moving money through mobile banking, and now we are using like Kakao to Kakao Pay, just sending money to each other, maybe just one step away from like stablecoin or payment adoption is happening. And each time we needed the education, so it's not about necessarily technology is too different or too scary or like too difficult, yet they just need to understand how convenient it is, So it's quite interesting to think all the way around. What we still see is like some missing pieces. Each of you are working and pushing hard. And now we go back to all this like a payment. So Pedro, what do you see like a crypto mass adoption in terms of that? We also talked about a lot of our now services are replicating Web 2-like experience. Is it something like crypto is actually winning as a backbone of it, or like we got a bit diluted in terms of philosophy and then maybe even the technology, and we become perhaps just another fintech company?
I mean, I think it's validation. I mean, you spent so many years trying to onboard the masses, but that meant you have to build both the technology and the distribution, and now we actually don't have to care about distribution. It did come at the expense of not controlling the narrative, obviously. We will not be the ones distributing to consumers. It will be the incumbents, and the incumbents can frame it as much as they want. Is this crypto or not? But at least it will be in the hands of many. So we can focus on the actual infrastructure. So we can make it more complex if we want, but it will be fully abstracted at the consumer level, but it will be embedded into existing applications. And eventually Kakao will just realize that, if people are in different countries, why am I using like the Kakao system? I can just use stable coins such that then other non-Kakao users can also transfer between like a Kakao app. So there is advantages to stablecoin as a technology, and it has been validated because what crypto has done is kind of similar to how Tesla has come into fruition. Now we see Tesla cars everywhere. But the strategy of go-to-market was actually to have a very sexy sports car that was electric, and that kind of attracted a lot of celebrities. So we made it something that was niche. So to your point, yes, we did build crypto for a subset of people, but that was just the go-to-market strategy. And now it's really hot and sexy and everyone wants it. But now we actually have to build the Tesla Model 3, which is not as sexy as the Roadster, but it is going to be valuable for lots and lots of people. And it did come as fully abstracted wallets that is embedded into Revolut or Kakao or whatever applications. And all people will care about is the instantaneity of it. So I think we won in a way, but we just don't control the distribution.
I was just thinking you made all of us making like a sexy sports car instead of like a boring crypto tag, So they're like, we should be proud of ourselves that we are, building a cool tag. Everyone is thinking like, okay, that's possible, and now what? And then we can build further. So now, go back to some other questions. So that now I'm thinking, when users come to use the applications, like in Web 2, for example, when I'm using Instagram or like some other product, I never doubt like, is it like operating on AWS or like Google, or what kind of things are in the backbone? It can happen same to a lot of apps people are going to be using who use the crypto as a backbone or like a backbone of the agents whatsoever. When breakthrough happened, in this case, each of you, like you see your product, is this going to be recognized by the users? Do we even need it? How the mainstream adoption would look like? People are going to be using it without realizing, so it's going to be mainly B2B services? Or do we still see that like all the wallet adoption, people need to still take care of their seed, and then we manage to educate people and they're going to use the order services? I'm just wondering, each of you, how you're picturing the ideal future of the crypto.
I think it's very unique to each business. I mean, each one of you will have a different perspective, but from the WalletConnect perspective, we're a B2B2C, so we do have a consumer-facing brand, but we're purely B2B. It's kind of similar to how Visa works, where everyone is very familiar with the logo, and it does kind of imply this trust that everything is going to just work because Visa is there to make it work, but no one is actually a Visa customer or a Visa user. Visa is just a network of banks and merchants coming together to make these payments possible, and WalletConnect works very similarly, where when you see the logo, you get that sense of like it just works. So it is consumer-facing, but it doesn't necessarily need to tell the people how it works. And let's be honest, you all have Visa and MasterCard, and you don't know how it works.
True, and we still use it.
Yeah.
So from my point of view, definitely there are some use cases in crypto that made it much better than the world better than we have right now. It is not a single country money transfers, because things are working in Korea and everything is great there, and they have no crypto regulation. But cross-chain, cross-border transfers of stable coins is an absolutely great unlock, clearly. But I think that the total mass adoption is going to be somewhat similar to these complex technologies that have been integrated in our lives, and now we even don't see it. Do you remember this thing TLS? At some point in time, it was developed, and then suddenly websites started to start not with HTTP but with HTTPS, and then it was a big thing. And then web browsers started to highlight you it in green that it is HTTPS, and now they are even not doing it. So they're not even paying the user attention to the fact that there is some kind of security protocol that is working behind it, and we're taking it as granted. And from time to time, something is wrong with the certificate, and there is some kind of warning, and then it says to you that I know what I'm doing, I want to proceed to this website. But like the technology is working behind the scenes. Nobody knows how the protocol is working there. I think that this is a sign of a very mature technology that is very well adopted and that has found its place. And maybe the cross-border stablecoin payments are going to become this TLS that is working somewhere behind the scenes when people are transferring money through Kakao Pay or through their Revolut Pay to their friends somewhere in Argentina, right? And then everything just works, and nobody even knows that there are some kind of crypto stuff that is used behind the scene. And I think that would be just amazing, and this is what we should strive for. We don't need to definitely put it in the user face, into the face of the user that they are using crypto. They need to know all of the complexities of the technology, and then we have pretty decent chances, specifically for the thing that I mentioned in the first answer, the financial backbone for the agentic world.
Which I deeply agree that we do need to show all the technical complexity to the users, which even developers don't know how cloud is exactly working, but they are still using it. But at the same time, what I'm sometimes scared is like when now crypto is seen as a mainly financial means to most of users. If you are replicating Web 2-like experience, maybe they will be expecting Web 2-like insurance. You know, like when we go to a bank, we normally know that like every deposit going to be protected maybe around like, I don't know, 50,000 if it's like maybe Europe. So that once when bank collapse or like a bank run happen, you're going to be insured. Such as if we make all the apps more likely to Web 2, maybe people are expecting very similar protection. It's just the only thing I think about, like, oh, maybe they're expecting we saving seed phrase for them. or like when money lose, they are expecting us to recover it. So all this kind of thing seems biggest friction for me to make normal users to use. And perhaps like maybe some of you gonna have a say around this if you have any solution or you don't see this as a problem.
I think these are just the product features, right? So you can buy insurance, and you can buy insurance in crypto, right? So, and then there are even some protocols who are providing, they are buying insurance for themselves and they're giving it to their users. These are nice features that are improving your trust in the product, and there are many different even custodial solutions for storing your crypto that have these type of insurance products built in. Yeah, it's just about the product development and understanding what is the target user market for this product, and then figuring out whether they need it or not, and whether they would be able to convert these users into longer all life value, all of this stuff.
Well, we already have these insurances. Like most people today are doing cross-chain transactions and are not using the canonical bridges. Most people end up using fast bridges, who end up having like underwriting of liquidity on both chains, and that gives you the insurance because someone has taken the risk on your behalf. So you have a guarantee of this transaction going through at the cost of a higher slippage. So like we have already built these products, and this infrastructure is ready to give the Web 2-like experience because the user is no longer the direct consumer of the blockchain, neither of bridges, neither of like DeFi products. Even most DEXs today use private pools. They don't actually use direct on-chain pools. So we have tons of insurances already built into DeFi and bridges and cross-chain.
I think there's, you mentioned something on more Web 2-like experiences. I think it's a little contradictory. There's nothing to shame about. But from what Ilya was saying earlier about sort of agentic intents and moving beyond what we currently do in our Web 2 lives, there's an interaction design paradigm that says like the reason why all of our browsers look the same, the reason why all social media networks look the same, why all sort of telemetry dashboards look the same is because people want familiar experiences. And people don't want something that looks different or feels different when they interact with it. And one of the reasons why I say we need more complex applications, because I think there's something more to be desired. There's communities to build that are focused around more complex products. And the average user today can be a vibe coder. They can do deep research. They can do a heck of a lot with agents. So why can't we build new experiences, agentic experiences for users that allow them to do more complex things, to approach things in new ways? And so I built an implementation of a distribution market. You can forecast risk and probability. It gets a heck of a lot simpler when you start working with, for example, Anthropic's browser extension, right? Hey, what is this market doing? What do you think is a good forecast of when AGI, or where this hurricane will be in 6 hours' time? You can create these new and interesting experiences, and I think part of that mass adoption, that affinity to products or end-user applications comes from building interesting and interactive experiences in that direction.
And Clemens, you would like to add some words on it?
I think we've already somewhat touched on this question when we were talking about chain abstraction and account abstraction and the likes, because at the end of the day, what that allows entrepreneurs and founders to do now is to sell the product. Because in the past, you had to go first sell the blockchain, crypto, you had to sell a wallet, and then you could start talking about your product. And by the time you started talking about your product, you already lost pretty much most of your target market. So I think that these account abstraction technologies really allow us to now have these new products we can take to a mass market, and are also, to me, the first kind of sign that we're now past the early adopters phase and we're nearing the early majority phase of this technology adoption curve, which I think is the most exciting part of any technological adoption, because that's when you have the most violent growth phase and the most exciting new products rushing to market. At the end of the day, when you're selling, you're never selling Web 2. You're going to tell your friend, check out this show on Netflix, it's called Narcos. They'll turn on Netflix, they'll go watch it. They don't really care how it's hosted, and what service providers are used and what technologies are running on top of it. So I think that's going to be just the same thing for crypto too, and I think the stage is now set.
Oh, Now, as our time is like reaching the limit, I prepared like a one fun question that all of you, I want you to have like maybe 10 seconds to think, so that if your product disappeared tomorrow, what would users miss most? So just imagine WalletConnect Pay disappear tomorrow, Starknet gone, or near intent gone, or base gone. What people are gonna miss? Or we will be just fine?
Well, I think for WalletConnect, one of the things that kind of like made it really popular was people started having more mobile experiences. And for those who use desktop, you have like these browser extensions. So you have like a very close relationship between the wallet and the application, and it makes it a little bit more integrated. But for mobile, you always had to have like a dedicated browser for like mobile experiences. So that meant like all the social aspects of like finding something on Twitter that you just wanted to try. It meant like you now had to copy and paste the URL, put it like in a specific wallet, and maybe you put in the wrong wallet, so now you have to copy the URL somewhere else. And it kind of like broke this kind of fluidity of you acquiring users. So with WalletConnect, what happened was that, especially now, iOS is kind of like incentivizing people to have more in-app browsers. So you just have like, there's no one browser. Like every app is a browser in itself. So you have a very fragmented web experience, and you couldn't really connect your wallet everywhere. So the WalletConnect experience on mobile is probably one of the strongest, like, because it really allows you to have any application on any mini browser anywhere. And that is so nice and so fluid that you can't really replicate it other than copy and pasting URLs, putting in a specific wallet, and do you have like everything in place. So, and especially now with the payments, it's going to be even more noticeable.
Yeah, that makes me really thinking like I want to close my phone and don't use it, right? So yeah, that convenience, yes, we're gonna definitely miss it. And how about Teddy?
The question is on what I would miss.
Yeah, so what will users miss if Starknet disappear tomorrow? What we gonna be missing out?
Oh, the community, the ecosystem. There's a lot of really fun people to work with. And if that stopped tomorrow, I'd miss the heck out of it. Because it's conducive to good knowledge dissemination, building friendships, and having a heck of a lot of fun, so I'd miss it.
I didn't expect that romantic answer, but that's also very, very like a touching that like you will miss the ecosystem, and then people, the smart people you're gonna work with. That's true. Like Starknet has the huge brain power, and I'm looking forward to see what comes next. And how about near intent?
Oh, if near intent is going to disappear tomorrow, everybody are going to be fine, absolutely fine, up until the next FTX is going to happen. And this is when everybody are going to lose their money, and they will figure out that it's better to have decentralized cross-chain solutions.
And I am very excited for that. And Clemens, now, if base disappear tomorrow, what we gonna miss?
I think mainly we'll just miss Jesse and his boundless optimism.
Oh, that's
it.
Okay, that's it, everyone. So we're gonna miss that. And everyone, I hope you could take some fun insights from today. And obviously, our speaker is gonna be around a little bit. So if you have more questions, feel free to grab them and ask him questions. I allow that on behalf of them without asking them, but I'm sure they're amazing people. And again, tomorrow we're gonna have a bunch of talks. So we will see tomorrow, everyone. Thank you, and thank you for Diana for amazing emceeing today.